We're back with another analysis for the demos of the original Resident Evil 2, as it turns out that there is yet more to talk about that I wasn't aware of when making that first video analysis. For starters, there's another demo that would let you play through as much as you could under a time limit. This info was given to me thanks to you viewers in the comments of the previous RE2 demo analysis vid, so thank you guys for that info. I mentioned before that you couldn't access that secret camera angle in front of the RPD, but apparently you can. I think it appears at random though, because I'd always trigger it by wasting a good amount of bullets shooting at that direction, but this time it just appeared right away. Unfortunately, I don't know where I could get a hold of this particular demo that has like a time limit without spending hundreds of dollars just to get a physical copy of it. I might have to just find a playable version online, which would kind of suck because I really prefer playing these on the actual discs themselves. I'm just that much of an old school fan. Physical copies are more rare these days, and there's a reason why prices quadruple with demo discs alone. And I think that particular demo could be the one that came with the PlayStation Magazine as well, so hopefully someone out there still has one in great condition. Aside from that, I also missed out on this death animation that came from losing to a licker in the demo. It's weird that developers would remove this when there are far more graphic kills in the game with our main protagonists. And it's more appealing to see different executions that can be performed from the lickers, or any other enemies for that matter. Now, after further investigation, I decided to go through some old strategy guides for any information that I might find that I missed along the way. What you probably didn't know is that there are lots of strategy guides that were released for the same RE games alone. So if one strategy guide doesn't mention a specific detail, another would likely talk about it. And the Resident Evil 2 Perfect Guide by Versus Books gave me way more info than I expected to find. This unauthorized guide is an independent production of Empire 21 Publishing Inc., and Capcom did not sponsor it, endorse it, or grant seal of approval for it. And I believe a lot of these strategy guides back then had to be very careful when it came to distributing their guides without getting in trouble with Capcom, since they'd make every effort to credit and identify all trademarks. Interesting, huh? But anyways, this strategy guide gives you all the info you need to know about the game, including information about the international and Japanese demos of Resident Evil 2. And what's shocking is that they also did their homework to the point of digging through the files of the demos by using a GameShark Pro. So I'm going to point out everything that the writer for the guide, Nick Desbarres, described in his experience with obtaining a lot of useful information that a lot of us never knew about. This info kicks in near the end of the strategy guide, and it reads, "Welcome to the section for only the most hardcore RE fans, the GameShark section. I, Nick Rox Desbarres, will act as your most skilled guide through this area of mania and madness. Back before RE2 came out, I spent long hours crafting these insane codes for the original RE2 demo that came with Director's Cut. At the time, they allowed for an enticing look at more of the game, but now, after we've seen everything the final game has to offer, they reveal exciting glimpses at how the game was made, what was changed in the development process, and even some ultra cool stuff that had to be cut for whatever reason. Apparently, when it came time to ship the RE2 demo, the wizards at Shinji Mikami's RE development team just dumped everything they had completed on the disc, and simply restricted access to areas they didn't want you to see. The GameShark allows us to break down these barriers. However, and I'll explain how in the following 3 pages, if you have the Biohazard 2 demo, don't worry, I've got the equivalent codes for that version. At the end of this section is an entire page of comparisons between the final game and the same areas in the demo for those who don't have a GameShark or the RE2 preview. So Nick provides us here with the GameShark codes for both the Resident Evil 2 preview and Biohazard 2 Trial Edition, and he leaves this note that reads, "Since the majority of these codes take you into areas you're not meant to be in, very little of the text has been translated. Therefore, the general rule is look but don't touch. Don't do anything that would produce a text response. This is usually confined to general searching. You can still perform item-based puzzles and pick items up, just don't examine anything. If you do, the game will crash hard. There is the odd occasional area which had been translated, but it's really not worth the risk. Of course, if you're playing the Biohazard 2 demo, you can look at anything, and if you read Japanese, then you'll get a kick out of seeing what text changed from the demo to the final version. Now, let's take a look at the items that were created, altered, and even special items that were never seen in the final version of the game. Let's start with the altered items. Here's the custom Magnum. The difference between this and the final version is that the barrel is much shorter here than it is in the final version. The spark shot does not include an image, but it mentions that the Japanese version says air taser temporary, and that you shouldn't equip it because it'll crash the game. There's even spark shot ammo, but that too does not come with an image, but it says it's air taser battery temporary. The parts A for the handgun and parts B for the Magnum don't include an image either, but the parts B says it's part C, which is wrong since there are parts C which belong to the shotgun. The lighter looks slightly different, and in the demo it has LK engraved on it, which stands for Leon Kennedy. So I guess Leon originally had a custom made lighter for himself, maybe? The rocket launcher was originally going to look like the one from the first RE game. It's also mentioned that you should not pick it up or the game will crash. Like with the rocket launcher and the lighter, a fair amount of items had a different design to them and ended up altered for the final version. Some of these look better before than after. I'm glad they changed the precinct keys with a letter on them as the poker symbols, because they're way more appealing for sure. And even the chest plugs had a different design to them. Originally they were going to be lock bolts. We'd get an A, B, and C lock bolt, a bolt plug, and a bolt handle, which is more items than the chest pieces needed to open a single path. I'm guessing they didn't want to make it be too many puzzle items for a single entrance, right? Now on to the unused items. In the final version, there were 2 key cards we'd obtain, a blue key card and a red key card. But did you know that there was also meant to be a yellow and a green key card? Makes you wonder if there was going to be even more rooms within the RPD. Nick mentions that the key cards can be used on the computer in the main hall, but they don't seem to do anything. And if you look at the computer afterwards, messages are displayed in Japanese stating 1 electronic door unlocked, 2 unlocked, etc. And using all 4 key cards will get the message all electronic doors unlocked. Now to one of my favorite cancelled weapons, the Calico 950. Nick mentions that by looking at the files on the disc, it appears to have been a weapon for Ada Wong. Now I really wish that it would have been included, because if you remember, she's only running around with a regular handgun and no other stronger weapon than that, but her playthrough section was a bit short. Either way, I really would have loved it if she was carrying around this particular weapon. Maybe then she could have used it in the extreme battle mode. A watch was also removed from the final version, and Nick believes that this was Ada's item before she got that photo of her and John. I guess that makes sense. I don't see why a watch would be part of a puzzle. Then there are the chemical items, Chemical A, B, and the recovery chemical. Nick mentions that these could be combined with grenade rounds to create either fire or acid rounds. And apparently you weren't going to be able to pick up anything other than the regular grenades at one point. And what's strange is that combining both chemicals will create the recovery chemical. His commentary says it all. This chemical makes explosive fury. And this one makes them acidic. Acid and fire? Yes! This will heal my wounds. Speaking of healing items, there was also going to be an antidote spray which would work the same way as the blue herbs. So I guess it's understandable to remove that item, seeing as there's no reason to include yet another type of healing item. I do like its design though. So those were all the items that were displayed and talked about in Nick's strategy guide. I'm surprised that the assault rifle and grenades from 1.5 were not shown here, or the body armor that Leon would be able to pick up. That bites because I'm so intrigued with everything that Resident Evil 2 was originally meant to be like. In the Cutting Room Floor website, they reveal all the unused items and differences between the areas presented in the demos in comparison to the areas in the final version. But what caught me by surprise was this image here. Yet another beta picture for Leon, and this time we even get to see Claire's beta picture icon. I guess at one point the devs were planning on releasing yet another demo, only this time you'd be able to play as Claire? Well, that was everything that Nick discovered with the use of GameShark codes for the items alone. That was way more than I expected to see. Now I gotta get a hold of a GameShark Pro to check these out as well. And as soon as I get a hold of that PS1 GameShark Pro, I'll have to try these codes out for myself and explore every little detail and difference between each unexplorable area in the RE2 preview and the Biohazard 2 Trial Edition. As it turns out that these Game Shark codes can also let you visit locations that you could not explore, since there's even a code to walk through walls. So yeah, as soon as I get that, I'll get started on yet another analysis video for the original RE2 demos. Man, isn't that crazy to see just how many differences this decades-old game had in comparison to today's Resident Evil 2 remake? It's insane, right? Well, with that said, that's it for the video. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button to give this video a chance to grow. I'd like to thank all my Patreon supporters for their impeccable generosity. Your support means a lot to me, and you are part of the reason why I try to make the best content that I can. And if you like this content, check out the rest of my channel. You'll find more entertainment from separate franchises I like to cover, such as Mortal Kombat, Dragon Ball Z, Celebrity Deathmatch, Men in Black, The Mask, Batman comics, The Terminator, TMNT, Dino Crisis, Resident Evil, and more. If you're a Patreon supporter, check out my exclusive videos such as the Gantz content. And if you'd like to show your support, go to my Patreon and support the channel, which is only $1. Sacrifice that McChicken for extra quality content, my friend. But anyways, I'll see you all in the next video, and remember to have an awesome day.